What's going on, you guys? Welcome to another episode of the C&J Speedway Review. My name is Corey Huffnagel, and we are now just at the start of opening week here in NASCAR. Everybody's all down to Daytona for Speed Weeks. We're getting set for the Daytona 500. It should be one hell of a weekend, not only in the Cup Series, but also the Xfinity and in the Camping World Truck Series and the Xfinity Series. But before we start off this show, we just want to say our thoughts and prayers go to everybody down in Florida. Yesterday, a gunman came into the high school, shot 17 people dead, 14 injured, and I'd probably say after I saw the news yesterday, it was just shocking. It's terrible. But my thoughts and prayers to everybody down in Florida. You know, it's during this difficult time, but. Let's go to the hotline now. Always a pleasure to chat with the guy who is hosting the Loki and Jabroni show on Tuesday nights on Facebook, and you could also catch them on Spotify as well. Mr. Chris Bird's in the house. Chris, how we doing?
Doing great. You did not mention Google Play Music or iHeartRadio, but that's okay. You learn as you go along. It's all good, my brother. Thank you for that glowing introduction. And I got to say, I got home just in time to see the tail end of dual race number one of the Can-Am Duels 125 race. Kind of a shame not to see Bubba Wallace take the checkered flag, but congratulations to Ryan Blaney, man. That's a kid we're going to be watching this year. We talked about it a couple weeks ago. Blaney's got the heart, the speed. He's got wins under his belt. Nowhere to go but up. Really great upside to this kid. So real quick, before we go any further, since I wasn't here, I saw the last 5 laps. Take us through duel number one before we fill time between the races.
So the first duel, we basically saw a couple side-by-side racing, and not only that, we basically saw the Penske drivers, pretty much work together throughout the whole entire race. And I would probably say with about 3 laps to go, it looked like Keselowski was going to try and block up on the high side. And the next thing you know, the hole kind of closed up because the one of McMurray pretty much ducked on the outside, and then Keselowski went into the wall, and now he pretty much is going to a backup car on Sunday. But I have to tell you, I probably say at the start of Speed Weeks, I just said to myself, the Toyotas and the Chevrolets were just going to dominate, not only this season, but pretty much at Daytona. But, we looked at the clash on Sunday and then one of the dual races tonight, the Fords have got something going on. And if you looked at, last season on all the restrictor plate races, they won the 2 races at Daytona and Talladega with Stenhouse, and then they won the Talladega Fall race with Brad Keselowski. So if you think about it, I think the Fords are going to be really tough to beat come Sunday.
Don't forget that the season opener last year was won by a Ford with Kurt Busch taking the Daytona 500. So if you take the 4 largest distance-wise races of the year, Ford took all 4.
Yeah.
So again, we talked a lot about Toyota dominance last year, and they really were. They were the class of the field. They were the team to beat as a manufacturer. But what I've seen out of these Fords just in Speed Week so far, it's really hard to bet against any Ford driver going forward. Right. And then tonight you have a Ford in Ryan Blaney coming across the stripe in the first of the Can-Am Duel 125s. If you're not betting on a Ford to win this race, you're either crazy or you don't follow the sport enough. But again, Daytona is anybody's race. There's always that chance where in the final laps there's a big one, the field gets shuffled, a Chevy or a Toyota can move up front. But watch the field this Sunday and watch the Fords. And Corey, I agree with you wholeheartedly. When it comes down to it, these past 8 days, it's been Ford, Ford, Ford.
Yeah.
So who impressed you the most? And I can already picture your answer in my head. Who impressed you the most in the first Can-Am Duel 125?
I would have to say the first driver that actually kind of came to my mind who was impressed was actually Bubba Wallace. And, he pretty much avoided the wreck with 5 laps to go. And then he was setting himself up for a good position to win. But I would say that, he didn't have a good push right near the end. But but a good finish to him. And not only that, he starts 7th in the 500. And also, another guy that impressed me the most was also the 12 of Ryan Blaney. And if you think about it, Blaney could have won 2 straight, down at the beach this past week. Because if you go back to the Clash, he was setting himself up for a winning move. And then next thing you know, pretty much made the move too early. And then, went to 4th. But other than that, I really think that 12 car is going to be the one to watch come Sunday.
It's funny. You mentioned that we text back and forth sometimes, and well, Corey texts all the time, but we won't mention that. But no, you really did earlier in the week. You're like, Ryan Blaney is going to be the one to watch.
Oh yeah.
And again, we texted back and forth after the Clash. Blaney made, like you said, the move too early. Had he gained a little more momentum, had he stuck into the corner a little more and made the move coming out of the corner, he made the move on the backstretch, if I remember. And all you're going to do if you make the move on the backstretch is lose the draft.
Right.
If you make it on the corner, you're carrying all that momentum out of that whip. And I see that the cars are lined up and going around the track right now. Yep. We're going to talk simultaneously, guys. This is going to be a first for us. We're going to watch the second duel live, and we're going to give our picks for the 3 series openers this weekend. I'm just watching right now as they're coming down the backstretch. Great place to sit. If you've never been to Daytona, the backstretch is the place to be. They come out of that whip, and they are just humming. My granddad used to take me to Daytona back in the late 80s and once in the early 90s before he passed away in 93. We would always sit in the backstretch, except once we got a start-finish line. I was not happy. So when I went in 2009 to the race, won by Matt Kenseth, shortened by rain, which there was no rain. It was in the forecast. It showed up about 30 minutes later, and it was Noah's Ark type stuff. That backstretch, when they come out of that whip on lap 2, you just feel 200 miles an hour, 40-some. Back then it was a 43-car field. You want to feel energy that you've never felt before. It's like hurricane force wind coming at you. It's amazing. So before the start of the race, I know we want to give our picks. And again, you're going to carry the Truck Series part. I can give you who I hope to see in Victory Circle tomorrow is Austin Cindric. I just think the kid's carrying a lot of momentum from last season. So I have no sleeper. I have no dark horse. All I've got is Austin Cindric. I'm putting my money 1,000% on him. He's taking all 3 spots.
I think Austin's running in the Xfinity Series this year.
Did he move up?
Yeah. So I heard that he's going to be running for the championship this season for Xfinity. So the way how this is going to turn out is he's going to run for the first 5 races in the 60 car for Roush Fenway, and then he's going to run pretty much the remainder of the season in the 12 or the 22 for Team Penske.
Interesting. Well, then let me bring that back. I'll just give it to Matt Crafton because he's Matt Crafton and he's never going to go higher than the trucks. No offense to Matt Crafton. You're a hell of a driver, but, you've been around for 15 years. You're doing your thing. God bless you. If you love running the trucks, run the trucks. Yep. Nobody says you have to move up. But that, you know what? Because if your prognostication is that Cindric is going up and he's going to be running whether it's a half-time, three-quarter time, or full-time Xfinity ride, then I'm going to give it to Matt Crafton.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Your turn.
All right, so my lock and sleeper for the truck race tomorrow night, and I actually was thinking about this the last few days, and I said to myself, I kind of like David Gilliland because he's driving in a really good truck or so, but my lock for tomorrow night, and this is probably going to be a shocker, well, probably not surprising to some of the NASCAR fans, but I'm actually going with Parker Kligerman.
Oh, wow. Good choice.
Because remember, he won the truck race at Talladega back in October, which nobody expected him to win. But you look at the 75 team, yes, we do see a Daytona and Talladega, like some of the top 15, top 20 teams, pretty much run up at the front. And these are drivers that you haven't even heard of before. But you talk about Parker Kligerman. This is a kid that works for NBC. He has 2 career Truck Series wins. at Talladega. Not only that, he won last year when he was driving for Caleb Holman. So that's going to be the one truck who I think is going to be the one to watch tomorrow. If he can get out of the big wreck or anything else in between, I think he's got a really good shot to win. Now, my sleeper, what you said earlier, was definitely going to be Matt Crafton. Considering the fact that Thorough Sports switched over the Ford this year, I'm actually going to be watching them to see how they're going to do this season. Because considering the fact that, they put up a lot of great numbers the last 6 years with Toyota, winning a couple races and 2 championships and whatnot, this is going to be a different playing field. And I think if Thorough Sport can get off to a great start tomorrow night and then pretty much the first 5 races of the year, I really think they could have a shot in championship contention.
Absolutely. There's nothing that anything you said is wrong. The best part about what we're doing today, this is all speculation. We have nothing to work off of except for speed weeks. And, as I'm looking at the screen now, the computer has picked Hamlin, Busch, Harvick, Truex, Menard as your top 5 to end the race. Now, if you guys were watching the first duel, basically the computer picked 4 out of the top 5 correctly. Now we're looking at the picks right now. Jeff Gordon is picking the 9 of Chase Elliott. Darrell Waltrip is picking the 20 of Eric Jones. Mike Joy is coming up next, and he's taking his time.
That's a good one.
21 of Paul Menard. Wow, that's a dark horse.
Yeah.
And Larry Mack is coming up, and he is choosing the Harvick. Okay.
Not surprising.
You never bet against Harvick at Daytona, and we'll go into that later on when we do our Daytona picks, which is going to shock a lot of people coming from me. Trust me on this one. We'll get into it. One of the things I took away from watching a lot of Speed Weeks is that in the truck series, it seems like the older drivers are coming out with a lot of speed, whereas the young bucks that came out last year and dominated the championship run are kind of faltering a little bit. Is there any... Do you think there's anything to that?
I mean, I would probably say that tomorrow night for the truck series, as Tom Bodine mentioned on Race Hub the other night, there's going to be a lot of rookies that are going to be racing in at the DAB tomorrow night. So some of these rookies who have never been to Daytona, they don't even know what to expect. But I would say that they got some really good spotters who have been in the sport for a couple of years, and they probably had some lessons for a couple of drivers that have been racing at Daytona for a number of years. But if you look at it, I think if the rookies do just fine tomorrow night, if they could just stay in the draft, don't do anything crazy or anything to get themselves in a big wreck or something not in their own doing, by the way the green flag's out, I think they should
they're ducking off.
I think they should be just fine.
All right, here we go. Green at Daytona.
Duel 2. Here we go.
Hamlin jumps out real quick in a Toyota. Busch right behind him. You got Harvick. All right, this is going to be fun. This is the first time we've ever done this live with a race going on. It's going to be fun.
This is going to be exciting.
Harvick kind of in the top line. That second line, that high line is not going to be good. It's usually good at the end. It's never good at the beginning. So that train running at the bottom line, those are the guys you're going to want to watch, which is Hamlin, Busch. We got Eric Jones.
You got 3 of the Gibbs guys working together.
Elliott. Yeah, you got Dylan. Got the 95 of Kane. You got the 42 of Larson, who I'm sure we're going to talk about later on. Okay, while they complete the first lap, we can move on to the Xfinity Series. Again, all speculation. We have nothing to work off of, really, because, hell, the season hasn't started. Nobody has momentum. Everybody starts with a clean slate. So do you want to give your picks on the Xfinity race first?
Okay, so my picks for the Xfinity Series. So I was looking at this too, and there were pretty much 2 that came to mind. But if I had to pick one right now, I would say my lock would have to be Ryan Reed. And if you think about it, he won the last 2 races at Daytona, and it wouldn't surprise me if that 16 team could win his 3rd straight at the World Center of Racing. And then my sleeper, I couldn't really think of a good sleeper to pick, but I'm going to have to go with Matt Tifft. Now that he's driving for a good ride for Richard Childress Racing, I'm really interested to see what that 2 team can do this season.
Well, Matt Tifft was my sleeper as well, but I went the other way on the Stone Cold lock, which again, we talk about carrying momentum and fire and passion and adrenaline and whatnot. I'm not going to bet against Christopher Bell in his first Daytona race in an Xfinity car. The guy's just got so much heart, passion, fire. He drives so fearlessly, and we saw that in the Xfinity win last year. Um, I don't know if he's running full time this year. I haven't seen the lineup for this weekend. I'm hoping he's in it. But if there's one guy I really want to be in victory lane this weekend for the Xfinity Series, it is certainly Ryan Preece. Showed me a lot in New Hampshire this past year. Showed me a lot throughout the rest of the season in every series he ran in. He's a semi-local boy. Where's he from? Do you know?
Priest, I think he's from Connecticut.
All right, then. He's a Connecticut driver I can get behind, unlike the
But
guy who runs the 22.
but other than that, Suarez is actually driving the 18 car on Saturday.
Okay. So is Priest not in the lineup?
I'm not sure when his first race is going to be, but I probably say like the first few races in Xfinity, it's probably going to be, the Cup guys between either Suarez or Kyle Busch, something like that. But other than that, I'll pretty much keep an eye out and see when Priest's first race is going to be.
Right. Now, as we're watching this live, as we talk, I'm watching these guys bottom out quite a bit, and the sparks are going directly into the radiator of the car behind them.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if that's not going to play havoc with the temperature gauge, because cold sparks, they call them cold sparks because you run the metal against something, it's made cold, but they're hot. They are hot by the time they get to something. I'd rather not mention tragedy, but cold sparks is what caused the station nightclub fire some 15 years ago. Cold sparks are only episode 30. It's a Loki Jabroni show. We talked to a station nightclub survivor. Really emotional episode.
Wow.
He's a good friend of mine now, Mike Riccardi. God bless him. He's not a race fan, so he'll never hear this. However, I'm wondering if those havoc in the temperature gauges, are these guys going to have false readings and say, oh, gee, I'm running real hot. I got to come in. We got to make this adjustment. Or is it something that maybe they've already planned for?
I'd probably say like it's something that they've already planned for if you think about it, because if you think about it, these guys practice like during the day, and then once it turns night, it's a whole different playing field. The track temperature, it's somewhere like around like 80 degrees or so forth. But other than that, some of these cars will make it like pretty tight or maybe loose or so forth.
Okay, either Martin Truex has a death wish or he can see spots that no one else sees.
Yeah.
That was the craziest move I've ever seen.
I thought that was going to be a wreck going into the one.
Well, the only reason I thought it was going to be a wreck is because he was coming in on the number 7 Danica Patrick, where I'm surprised she hasn't wrecked already. By the way, you were texting me as I was driving home about Jimmy Johnson's misfortune in the first race. What brought that crash about?
So something had to do with the car, and I guess Jimmy said that, like, I think it had something to do, like, in the wheel well, I think, because what happened was he got spun on his own. Something must have happened, like, mechanical-wise and everything, and pretty much collected Almirola, which that ruined his night. And then Suarez, he just avoided the wreck. He just spun on the apron, and I think he recovered, got, like, a top 10 finish whatsoever.
Man, well, Jimmy Johnson,
that's crazy.
His bad luck at Daytona in the last several years, since winning it a couple years ago, it's just been well documented. And it's, again, I'm not the biggest Jimmy Johnson fan, but to see someone who loves this track, who's won at this track, who's had success here, just have such bad luck over the last 4 or 5 years, it's got to be heartbreaking for him. Yeah. It really does. I mean, demoralizing doesn't even cover it. So lap 9, I'll give you the rundown. Hamlin, Kyle Busch, Jones, Elliott, Boyer. Oh, it just changed. I can't.
Yeah, now it's already changing up quite a bit. And I think we lost him. Hello. Hello. I think we just lost them. I don't know what just happened. All right, folks. So just so you know, it's about 10 laps of 60. And we got Denny Hamlin leaning over Paul Menard, Kyle Busch. No, actually Kevin Harvick, Kyle Busch, Trevor Bayne in the top 5. So I just don't know what just happened. Oh, Chris just texted. I got booted. Oh, boy. Oh, my goodness. What the heck just happened? Okay, so the rundown. Let's see. Hamlin, Menard, Harvick, Busch, Bayne, top 5. Busch gets up to 3rd. All right, folks. So we just had a little bit of technical difficulties. My host, or my co-host, I should say, something happened to his internet or Wi-Fi, and so we're getting a little. We're gonna try and make a little bit of adjustments here, and we'll see what happens. So it's a little bit. Oh, here we go. And Eric Jones. And we got more DiBenedetto and Larson. First caution out in dual race number 2. As you see here, DiBenedetto has damage. Looks like he's done. Good grief. I don't think Eric Jones has any damage. Larson has, I think he's got a little damage. I think he should be okay. It's not letting me join. Oh boy. And looks like we're having a little bit of technical difficulties, folks. So just be patient, and we will be back momentarily.
Yep. Sorry about the delay, guys. Internet here at the New Digs is not exactly what we want it to be, so welcome back. While we were off the air, a little bit of a crash going on. Eric Jones got turned around. You got to see most of it while I was fiddling around with the internet. Tell us what happened.
So what happened was so Jones got tapped by the 9 of Chase Elliott, and I guess what happened was the 20 car got loose, and the next thing you know, once he spun out pretty much in front of the track, then I guess 2 of the guys kind of checked up, and I saw Kyle Larson spun and hit the wall with a little bit of minimal damage. Matt DiBenedetto wasn't really too lucky. He got most of the damage, and it looks like he is out of the race.
Oh, that sucks.
Yep.
You know, a guy like Matt DiBenedetto is a guy that really wants it, and unfortunately, an underfunded team. If he gets in good equipment, this is a guy that's going to go places. They're replaying right now the Jimmy Johnson, Eric Almirola bit from earlier.
Yep.
Oh, wow. That Almirola car's tore up. Be him, Keselowski, Johnson. There's going to be a lot of guys in backup cars. Here's the thing again. It just looks like it doesn't look like contact. He took the air off the spoiler of the 20.
Yep.
Oh, look at all those guys that got around that. Fantastic driving by everybody. So as we come out,
yeah, it's like Harvick is
the restart. Harvick, Hamlin, Menard, and Kyle Busch. So looks like it's going to be a little bit of a fun time. Anytime you put Hamlin, Busch, and Harvick together, there's going to be fireworks. They're going green right now.
Yep.
And it looks like Harvick gets a decent jump. Hamlin's right there with him. They're door to door.
They're side by side.
Yep. The push from Kyle might take Hamlin. That high line has been bad. He's trying though.
Yeah, he's trying.
The 21 of Menard is pushing Kevin Harvick right now. As they come into 3.
Ooh.
Who's that behind him? The 34.
That is McDowell.
Yep. All right.
Michael McDowell.
And why would you take the screen off of the battle for the lead at that point? Harvick takes that lap. So we were talking a little bit of Xfinity before we were so rudely interrupted by crappy internet here at the Quiet Compound. And you were saying something. Oh, we were talking about the action on the screen, but we were in the midst of Xfinity talk. I know with Speed Weeks, it's too early to talk about, championship contenders, et cetera, so forth. But I really did think about this over the last couple of weeks, is that one of the guys I see in the championship run is going to be Christopher Bell. I just can't say enough good things about him. The truck run last year, the Xfinity win last year, and now he's coming in full-time ride. I won't bet against him. If you could give, on a scale of 1 to 10, what do you think Bell's chances are to see a back-to-back championship truck and then Xfinity?
I would say I would give him a 10. And if you think about it, it wouldn't really surprise me if Christopher Bell, wins the championship in his first full season. Because if you think about it, we saw Chase Elliott and William Byron win the championship in Xfinity in their first full season. And you talk about Christopher Bell. I mean, he comes in here with a lot of talent. And now that he's moving up to the Xfinity series, now that he's driving for a good team, I could probably see him winning maybe 4 or 5 races, without a doubt. But I think this is going to be the team to watch this season.
Okay. So moving on to the Cup Series, while we're going to try and do our best to get the whole race live streamed if my internet doesn't crap out.
Yeah.
Going to the Cup Series. Oh, wait. They're talking that Kyle Larson's out. Wow. I thought he only took minimal damage.
Yeah. Yeah, it looked as
well,
if
you know what?
he
it's
had
not
minimal damage too.
Yeah, I mean, but maybe they thought, it's better if they've got the speed, they've got the equipment, better to bow out of this race, which really, it's nice to have on your resume. Look, I won one of the Can-Am duels, but
right,
I'd rather have the Daytona 500 Harley J. Earl Trophy at the end of the week.
Yeah.
So maybe that was a decision made by the Larson team. That, you know what, just bring it in. Let's focus on Sunday. I'm going to say good call by the 42 team.
Yeah. I mean, it was pretty much the same thing that William Byron did in the first race, because when I saw him spun coming off a 1, or actually coming off the front stretch, I saw him have minimal damage as well. And I thought, well, it's not too bad. And then I saw he was out of the race, and I thought, well, I don't know why he's out of the race for it. But then you pretty much put in the mention, they're just pretty much bowing out, so they can get ready for Sunday. And I thought, it's a good point.
Right. Now, what we're seeing right now is that the bottom line on the long run is the line you want to be in, because as you saw on the restart, Hamlin and Harvick were running door to door. They're moving back and forth, one inches forward, 1 inches forward. And now what you're seeing is the Harvick line, the low line, is the one that's creeping forward. And Hamlin's having a hard time gaining ground. Yes, he's in second now. Now he just fell back to the 21 of Menard.
Ooh, McDowell.
Yeah, I just saw that. He just lost the draft real bad.
I thought they were going to wreck
the one
off
place
a 4.
If you're a newer race fan, the place you do not want to be at Daytona is in the middle, because some guys are comfortable on the bottom, some guys are comfortable on the top. Nobody runs the middle line here.
Ooh.
It's not, oh, wow.
I was almost
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, he almost soiled himself. The one place you don't want to be is in the middle. In Talladega, the middle line is good because it's a wider track. at Daytona, you never want to be in the middle because you're going to have the train running on either side of you that's going to leave you in the dust. I've watched guys go from first to like 31st in the middle line, and now they're bunching up on the top, it looks like.
Comes Boyer on that top side.
Yeah, Busch and Boyer seem to be running a train on that top line. And here we go. We see the sparks coming off the 3 going into 95 as they're going to commercial. So while we're at commercial and you're yawning, let's talk about our picks for Daytona going forward on the Monster Energy Cup Series.
All right, so my picks for the Daytona 500 on Sunday. And so my lock for this race is going to be one of the Penske guys, even though one fell out of the dual race, is going to be Brad Keselowski. Now, with the backup car on Sunday, I don't know how it's going to do, but I can pretty much tell that the 3 Penske guys are going to be working together Sunday come for the 500. I mean, we saw it tonight in the duels. We saw it this past Sunday in the Clash. So I really think that, if anybody's going to win the Daytona 500 on Sunday, they're going to have to be one of the Penske guys because they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. Now, my sleeper pick, and Chris, promise me you won't spit out your beer on this one. So my sleeper
I'm not even gonna lift the beer to my lips for this.
So my sleeper pick for this one is going to have to be Danica Patrick. The reason why is because it's her final race. And I'm actually really interested to see what she's going to do, for Premium Motorsports, because interesting fact was the team actually fielded a car for Michael Waltrip last year in the Daytona 500. And I think Waltrip kind of finished somewhere like in the top 15, top 20. I'm not really sure. But I think about it, and even though they're another one of the Camaros, the L1s, I really think, Danica could probably, do something, in the 500 on Sunday. Now, do I think she can win? I don't know, but I would be really happy if she finished in like the top 10, top 5 whatsoever, because she's run pretty well at Daytona and Talladega the last couple of years.
Mm-hmm. I mean, she took the pole some years ago. It was her and Gordon on the front row at Daytona some years ago. And a fantastic meme that I made that I put out there. It was like, look at this, the first time 2 women ever took the front row. And it was one of those Jeff Gordon jokes that I used to make. I have tremendous respect for Jeff Gordon and the things he's done. I still think he is the best analyst on television right now.
Without a doubt.
Oh, yeah. And if Rusty Wallace ever moved up to television rather than doing the radio bit, I think there would be like a great battle for that position because they both give you so much insight, a lot more than a Dale Jarrett or Darrell Waltrip or whatever. We have a lead change right here.
Ooh, that was almost a wreck.
Wow. Yeah, it was the 11 and the 21 just railroaded Harvick. Yeah. And right here, as you were saying, it almost looked like they touched, but wow.
That was
now,
close.
Guys, if you have friends that mess with NASCAR and say, "Oh, it's just a bunch of guys going fast and turning left," first of all, watch that move. Seriously, watch that. And now we have Elliott in the lead.
Chase Elliott.
Now I'm gonna go to my picks. Oh wait, you didn't give me your dark horse. You gave your sleeper and your lock.
All right, so I know my lock was Keselowski. My sleeper was Danica, and my dark horse for Sunday is going to be the 12 car Ryan Blaney.
Okay. My lock is the same as yours. I think Brad Keselowski, the whole Penske team has way too much power. They've got those Fords dialed in so well that it's going to be hard to beat any one of the 3. But if I have to pick one, I'm going to pick Keselowski. My sleeper, going to shake a lot of people up, but it's a 24 of William Byron. Byron's coming into this race. He's got a lot to prove. Chase Elliott was in that 24 car last year. Yes, he did well. Yes, he was exciting, but second place doesn't bring you glory. Second place, a lot of people say second place is the first loser. I think William Byron, if he comes out of the box strong, much like Trevor Bayne some years ago, although it never translated for Trevor Bayne. Sorry. Trevor Bayne had the one big win and had a lot of nothing after that.
Right.
I think this is going to be William Byron's coming out party. And I was talking to a NASCAR fan today who said, wow, the 88 of Alex Bowman looks really great. And I know I'm talking about William Byron, but they were talking about Bowman. The 88 looks really great. I'm like, that's because these young kids are driving without fear.
Yeah.
A lot of what happened with Junior and the concussions was once you get back into the car, you're kind of driving with fear.
Right.
Can this happen again? Will this be my last race? And let's not forget who his father was. And at this very track, that hangs over your head. So Junior was driving with a lot of trepidation. Byron, Bowman, Elliott, they're driving fearless. And until they get in that first big wreck, a Daytona, Talladega, Darlington type wreck, they're not going to have the fear. So I'm looking for the 24 William Byron as my sleeper. My dark horse, because since 2009, hasn't had a lot of success at this track. My dark horse is going to be Kevin Harvick. If he can figure out why, since 2009, he has had such crap success in this particular race. He's had success in the July race, but since 2009, finishing second behind Matt Kenseth, he's really not done a whole lot of anything except crash at the Daytona 500. That's why Kevin Harvick is my dark horse. Yes, I agree with you on the Danica Patrick point. It'd be nice to see her do something in her last race, but to me, that's too little too late. You had 5 to 6 years to prove yourself. You're not going to prove anything by winning the last race of your career in NASCAR.
Right.
So, going forward, here we go back to commercial again. They're showing Chase Elliott.
Yep.
Again, a guy that, something tells me not to pick him this weekend. And I'm pretty sure that that's going to be a factor, and it's going to come true. Again, you got the Penske Fords, super strong. They've shown it all weekend. They showed it tonight. They showed it Sunday. Fords in general. I don't know how Almirola was running, but I'm looking at Harvick and Bowyer right now. They're weaving through the field.
Yeah.
Kurt Busch was doing real well. He had a shot to win that toward the tail end of duel number 1. So if you're driving a Ford, you've got a fighter's chance. If you're a
Absolutely.
Toyota guy, it's Gibbs or it's Truex. Basically, those teams have the fighter's chance. As far as the Chevys are concerned, I really don't see a lot of the Chevy teams with any oomph outside of Hendrick Motorsports. And you have nothing. You're killing me right now.
Yeah, so
right?
I probably oh, just a little bit. Yeah, I'm just trying. I'm just too focused on like the race if you think about it. But no, I probably say like I say like after Daytona, then we go to like the mile and a halfs, and then all the other tracks in between. So that will just be pretty much the question of who do you think is going to be the best, when it comes to the mile and a halfs. And all the other tracks that are coming up within like the first like 5-6 races, because I think that's when NASCAR comes out with the Aero package, I think for 2018 or so forth. And I think they wanted to do something that, so that they can make the cars a lot more closer, and they want to make the races a lot more competitive as it is. So, and I probably say like, that's going to have me question like, how are the Fords going to do like at the mile and a halfs and the short tracks and everything else in between. And the big question is like, will the Chevys, dominate, pretty much the first couple of races of the year?
Well, when you look at some of those mile and a halfs last year, it was Truex and it was Larson. What did they take? 10 of the mile and a halfs?
Yeah.
They were crazy strong at the mile and a halfs. And that's a Toyota and it's a Chevy. So you really can't take the manufacturer into that. But then again, you had Texas is a mile and a half. Harvick took that one late in the season. Yeah. I don't have the winner list in front of me. We're just kind of going off the cuff because this is the first time where we're watching a race live while we do the show. What I'm looking at in going into Atlanta a Sunday after Daytona is you're going to see whatever teams come out of the box strong, whether it's Hendrick, Gibbs, Penske, or Stewart, you're going to see those cars battling up front. Could we have one of those surprise winners like we did in Atlanta back in 2001 with Harvick when he was running for an I don't want to say underfunded, but they were a distraught, disheveled RCR team, having lost Dale Earnhardt 5 weeks earlier.
Yeah.
We're going to see something in Atlanta that we've probably never seen before, in that a lot of the top teams, they're going to they've already figured it out. One of these underfunded teams, I see Truex in Atlanta in my mind's eye, only because Truex owned every mile and a half. If he came in, he was always like top 5, top 10. If Truex doesn't win this Sunday, he's going to win in Atlanta next Sunday.
Yeah, I'd probably say that, even though that Truex, was the only Toyota that dominated on the mile and a half racetracks last season, I think it wouldn't surprise me if those guys can repeat that momentum this year. But I think going into this year, I would say that the only team who I think is going to be the ones to beat this year, especially on the mile and a halves, would definitely have to be Joe Gibbs. Because if you look at it, it's a new lineup, and then of course you got Eric Jones coming in, which I really expect a lot of big things out of the 20 car. And hey, I expect him probably to win maybe like 3 or 4 races this year. But I think if the Fords can have a lot of momentum, this season and can compete with the Toyotas and the Chevrolets, not to mention, I think it was announced a few days ago that I guess Roger Penske was telling some of the reporters that there is a new body that's coming out in 2019. And my prediction's probably going to be the Mustang. I'm not really sure. But I would say that if the Fords can compete with the Toyotas and the Chevrolets this year, I think it's going to be very competitive with all 3 of the manufacturers.
Well, with the body types, I mean, again, in Speed Weeks, the Chevys haven't really come up, and they just switched over to the Camaro body type. With the Fords, they've run Thunderbirds. They're running Fusions now. If they were to go to the Mustang, would it change anything? No, because whoever's running the engine package, and I know engines are built by different teams, and used to be Yates would build engines and this team would build engines. Whoever's doing the engine packages for these Ford teams is nailing it. We can look up now and see that Harvick, Boyer, Allmendinger, I'm trying to see what other, they're not showing the manufacturers. See,
right.
This is where you fail, FS1. Fox would have had the manufacturers on the left.
Yeah.
However, much like last year, the Toyotas had it figured out. Pontiacs had it back in the day. You can't deny those 4 years between 89 and 93 where just Pontiacs won everything. I know you're too young to have a frame of reference to that, but my God, Rusty Wallace wins 10 races in a year and doesn't win the championship. It's kind of crazy.
In 93.
I know the pit windows come. Yeah, good call. Who was the crew chief? Quick, do it. Tell me.
Buddy Parrott.
You win the prize. You will get a Loki and Jabroni bumper sticker to put on your car as soon as I can get one to you.
All right.
Now, having said that, I'm looking at Danica running 14th. Austin Dillon's back there. Kane. A lot of Chevys are running way back. Elliott in the lead currently is a Chevy, but then you have Toyota, Ford, Toyota. Oh, Jones just moved up.
Yeah.
Okay, so again, the Chevys aren't showing me anything tonight. Is Elliott up there by circumstance, or is he up there by skill? Got to ask that question at a big track like this.
I would say that he's up by skill, and if you looked at the Clash on Sunday, he also had a really good car to beat as well until he got caught up in that big wreck on the last lap. But I look at Chase Elliott. You think about it, he almost won the Daytona 500 last year. Had he not run out of gas with 3 laps to go. But I think coming into the Daytona this year, I really think that 9 team can pretty much, show something, to the field. I mean, you think about it, I think this could be their best shot, not only winning the race this year, but could possibly win the 500 on Sunday.
Well, it's one thing that you and I talked about some weeks ago is, did Chase Elliott learn enough last year to translate into wins and success this year? Or is he just still that young, driver that says, "Oh, well, it'll come to me." Nothing comes to you. You have to go out there and you have to earn it.
Right.
Yes, he comes from pedigree. God knows, 1988 Winston Cup champion Bill Elliott's his father. Bill Elliott won a gaggle of races in his career. Most popular driver for 2,494 years. Bill Elliott set a huge shadow that is cast over Chase, and I'm not saying that he had to win last year. It would have been nice to see him win last year, but he really has. He really needs to come out of that and make his own name.
Yeah.
Not Elliott, but Chase. You really have to make Chase Elliott a name versus just being Chase, son of Bill Elliott.
Right.
And part of that is it has to translate. You have to get up front. When you look at the sons of, the biggest one I can think of is Dale Earnhardt Jr. He made himself his own name. Yes, he carried his father's name. Yes, he carried that stigma of Junior behind it. But Dale Earnhardt Jr. cut his own cloth and moved forward and made himself a name. Let's look at some of the names that came after. You have, just off the top of my head, Kyle Petty.
Yeah.
Nope. Sorry. Decent analyst. Not a very good race car driver. Yes, you won a couple races, but again, it never translated. Just John Hunter Nemechek. John Hunter Nemechek, in my opinion, should be at the top level by now. Why isn't he at the top level right now? It doesn't translate. He's not cutting his own cloth. He's okay doing what he's doing, racing and doing it for a living. And you know what? God love him. I said it about Matt Crafton earlier in the show. If you're happy with where you are, then by all means, do what you do. But John Hunter Nemechek had the talent, had the skill. Something didn't translate. A lot of top teams were looking at him back in the day.
Yeah.
But where is he? He's running trucks. He's running the occasional Xfinity race. You have to cut your own cloth. And Chase Elliott, this is going to be the year where Chase Elliott either becomes Chase Elliott or Chase, son of Bill Elliott. And right now, he's not doing too bad, although Hamlin Hamlin tried to take over the lead. Elliott retains. All right. Only 3 leaders in this race. That's a little surprising.
Yeah.
Elliott, Hamlin, Harvick. So with 14 to go, I'll ask you now, who do you got?
I really like that 9 car. If he can hold off the 11, I think he's got a shot.
Okay, I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to say experience is going to take this race, and I'm going to shock a lot of people. It's going to be the 11 of Hamlin. I think Harvick could do it. I think Boyer could do it. I think Busch could do it. Looking down the list, there's no one else other than those 3. But if I have my pick, I'd love it to be Harvick, but I think the 11 is going to take it.
Yeah.
And as what are we in 3 and 4 right now? They're listening to Harvick on communication. Usually I had the scanner in my ear during the race, but we're doing something fantastic and new here. So they're really bunched up. One line.
Yeah.
They're not even playing anymore. They're one line. Do we see a caution in the next laps?
I would probably say you're going to see a caution within maybe the next, probably with like 5 laps to go, like if things get pretty jumbled up and so forth.
Okay, fair enough. And as I'm looking at the list, Greg Galding at the bottom, Kennington at the bottom, LaJoie, Bain not doing all that well. Again, Trevor Bain, another guy, came out of the box quick. He was a victim of circumstance. He won that race not on skill, but on being at the right place, right time back in the day. I'll never forget watching him win that race and having people text me, "Who the hell is Trevor Bain?" But now, if you're a non-NASCAR fan and you're watching this, and share this with a non-NASCAR friend, the difference between 14th and 1st is 1.43 seconds. Now, go back to, and I will point to this as long as I live, as the greatest Daytona finish ever. On the restart with 10 laps to go, Kevin Harvick was a second and a half back, won that race. Why? Because he cut through the field, he followed the right lines, and he did it. We've seen it a million times here at Daytona. A guy like Kyle Busch, who right now is being shown in 8th, could easily scoot through this field and win this race. Why? Because it's Daytona. Speed carries. Go ahead, sir.
I'd probably say, like, that Busch is in 8th. Like, let's say, like, if he wanted to get to the front, he's going to have help from somebody, which, somebody would have to pull down to the bottom and, they would go with him.
Oh, sure. Much like in 2007, Kenseth went with Harvick. Kenseth was, and I say this without any fear, as much as I'm a huge Kevin Harvick fan, Kenseth was the class of the field that day. Yeah. He had the fastest car. So to have him tuck in behind the 29 that day and push him, and then everything got squirrely and Kenseth ended up wrecking, and a bunch of guys. Clint Boyer went over the start-finish line on the top of the car. He was upside down. Yes, a drafting partner is great. You have to make sure you have the right drafting partner, because the guy who pulls out with you may not have the speed. You're faster, you lose him. Or is the guy pulling out with you equal in speed and can push you to that lead? And right now, Chase Elliott is not exactly creating a hole between him and the train. Elliott, Hamlin, Harvick, Boyer, all within 0.3 of each other. Menard, a tenth of a second back. Jones, another tenth of a second back. And that's where you start to separation. Allmendinger, 0.2 of a second back of that. Kyle Busch, 0.2 of a second behind that. This is really what you're going to see on Sunday. Is you're going to see the top 10 or 15 pull away from the field. Unfortunately, we have the top 14, and then everybody else is a lap down for one reason or another. Bad equipment, bad luck, crashes, etc.
Yeah.
So in what you're watching now with 9 to go, Kyle Busch just got out of the line, but he gets right back in. What are you seeing here that's going to be a telltale sign at the end of the race?
Well, I probably say that now it's like 9 laps to go, and every time like I watch a super speedway race, I just say to myself, watch when it comes down to like the last 30 laps, maybe like the last 20, that's when everybody's going to start going for it. Because if you look at this right now, I don't think anybody's going to be staying single file for long. I would say like within the next 3 to 2 laps, somebody's going to make that move, and then they're going to jump down to the bottom and they're going to go with somebody.
Right, and you see them passing the lap cars right now.
Yeah.
Elliott's coming around into 1. He's got Hamlin and Harvick right on his tail. Now we get a little separation. Boyer's a tenth of a second back. Menard 0.2 of a second back. And I'm just talking about off of the bumper of Harvick right now.
Yeah.
But as you can see, again, non-NASCAR fan, look at the TV. This is like highway driving, but this is at 200 miles an hour.
Right.
People get upset if someone's on their ass at 65 miles an hour. Now imagine this, door-to-door, 3 wide at 200 miles an hour. You know what? One of you would die. And I'm not picking on non-NASCAR fan. I'm just saying it's more than go fast, turn left. And we're going to see that in the playoffs this year. I'm so looking forward to the Charlotte Roval.
Oh, me too.
I can't even begin to tell you how much I've been pushing since the chase started back in 2004, 2005, that they put a road course in.
Yep.
You want to test the all-around ability of a driver, put him on a road course. Gordon, Harvick, Wallace, Earnhardt, Sr. You put them on a road course and they win, that shows what a true champion is. Yeah. And for some of these guys, you're gonna see the separation like you do at Sonoma and Watkins Glen, where a Harvick, a Hamlin, I'm trying to think of who else is in the field. Johnson, even Jimmy Johnson, won at a road course. That's where you separate the champions from the also-rans. Kyle Busch, same thing. Don't have to like Kyle Busch. Certainly going to respect his effort and his ability. All right, 6 laps to go. Elliott is not opening up anything. 1, 2, 3, 4 cars, and then you have a bit of separation until you see Paul Menard, who is now just recently
just
joined the
joined the
train.
mix. Yeah.
He ducked right in there. Now, it looks like as the race goes on, the high line is the place to be. Whereas earlier in the first duel, the low line was the place to be. From what I saw with 10 laps to go, and earlier in this race, the low line was where people wanted to be.
Right.
I'm kind of curious as to why now. Is it because of the cooler track conditions? Why is the high line the place everybody wants to be? Is it because Elliott's running the high line and we're all chasing him? Are we going to see someone duck in the next 5 laps as we have 5 laps to go and use that low line? Because I'll tell you, if the 11 and the 4 dip down and go with each other, it's a different ballgame.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. But I think if you look at this right now, I think everybody's just saving their stuff for the 500 because, if somebody, does something stupid, within, the next 3 laps or so, they get into a crash, and then next thing you know, they go to a backup car for the 500, then they have to start in the back. But I think if you look at it, I would say within, the next lap or two, somebody's going to make a move.
Oh, absolutely. And again, it's nice to have on your resume. I know Rusty Wallace won a handful of these dual 125s back in the day. It was the Gatorade duels, and now it's the Can-Am duels.
Yeah.
And he won a bunch of Bush Clashes, which is now Maxi Pad Tampon Clash or whatever it is. Again, the sponsors change so much, it's hard to keep up. I just know it as the Clash, the duels, and the Daytona 500. It's great to have on your resume, but again, a guy like Rusty Wallace, Dale Earnhardt, Harry Gant, Terry Labonte, they parlayed that into something bigger. For a guy like Chase Elliott, I would like to think if he can hold off these next 3 laps, this is a springboard for something better.
Oh, yeah.
And I really do think that something you said a couple weeks ago is starting to ring true. I think maybe it's the change of scenery, not so much, change of scenery being the number, etc. Being in that number 9 car that his father made famous for so many years. This might be a stepping stone for him. This could be the start of something big. I've always had a great deal of respect for Chase Elliott as we have 2 to go, and his ability, but his inability to cash it in. Oh, here goes Harvick. He's going down low. He's dipping. He just and Menard goes with him. Oh, who's that? That's not Menard. Who's that?
Boyer.
It's Boyer.
Yeah.
The Fords are going to work together. We might see something different here.
Yeah.
And they're going back to the low line because Chase went to the low line. I think they're chasing Elliott, no pun intended.
Menard's up on the top.
Because, Menard. And who's that? Is that the 20?
Looks like Harvick just blocked the top, and now here comes Eric Jones in the 20.
Yep.
Here we go.
Yeah, wow. 1 to go.
In the air.
Final lap, guys. Here we go. And there's no more overtime line. Thank God. That was the dumbest rule ever.
I thought that was
all right.
I thought that was all right, but I would say, in my defense, I think the overtime line should have been at the start-finish line, so then that out of way it would have made sense.
Oh, without question. Now, here we go. We got the 14 and the 4 running the train on the 9. Do they have enough juice to get by Elliott? And we're about to find out. If I'm Harvick, I'm going to go high. You've had success there before. Coming out of 3 and 4 right now, do you make your move?
Ooh, baby.
The 20 ducks.
No, can't get there.
You're not going to get it. Chase Elliott wins duel number 2. Harvick 2nd, Jones 3rd, Boyer 4th, Kyle Busch 5th, Austin Dillon 6th, Menard 7th, Bain 8th. Denny Hamlin falls back to 9th, and A.J. Allmendinger runs out the top 10.
The Dinger.
McDowell 11th. The Dinger, I love that guy. McDowell 11th, Truex 12th, Kane 13th, Patrick 14th. And the rest of them were laps down. Kennington, LaJoy, Galding, Thompson, DiBenedetto, and Larson round out your 20. So Chase Elliott will start on the outside in number 4, 4th position, I should say, going into Daytona this Sunday. Is this a momentum builder for Chase Elliott? We got to watch this replay.
Yeah.
Guys, if you weren't watching this race with us, really, seriously, watch the 20. He ducks really low. Wow, he got squirrely there, too. overtakes the 14. Now, that took a lot of air off of Harvick, which, as Boyer was pushing him, could have helped him. What a great finish.
Yeah.
And the 20 takes third. Wow. Decent move by him. You got to do what you got to do. You got to set your mark. And for Eric Jones to go from the 77 Furniture Row now doing the Joe Gibbs 20, he's really got to show himself. I'm sure coach is sitting up in the box somewhere smiling right now that Eric Jones really, excuse my language, put his balls on the table,
yeah,
and showed the people I'm worthy of this spot. Amazing.
Yeah.
Great to see the number 4 up there in the top 3.
Yep.
Again, still my dark horse. He's had some bad luck over the last few years, starting to become Jimmy Johnson legendary for the 4 car. But maybe this is the Daytona that he comes back and remembers, hey, I'm Kevin Harvick. I used to run in the top 5 every single year here. I won this race. Maybe this is a stepping stone for me as well. 41 years old. He's not exactly a spring chicken. He's been doing this on this level since 2001.
Yeah.
I'm seeing a lot of good things out of everybody in the top 5 that I'd be willing to bet every one of them has a chance. But of the top 5 that we saw in this second dual race, I'm going to have to go with you on this one. Chase Elliott has a good shot. I'm still not picking him to win, but I'm happy with his performance tonight. Great to see him come across the line in a Cup car. And again, you can go to trucks, you can go to Xfinity. Yes, I've had success elsewhere, but you can also point to the Randy LaJoys and the David and Jeff Greens and those that came before him who had great success in an Xfinity or Busch car or Nationwide car. Again, the sponsors changed so much, and it never translated to the Cup Series.
Oh, yeah.
I'm hoping, I'm praying, because I don't dislike Chase Elliott. I'm hoping that this is the stepping stone for him to gain some confidence to know that I can do this on the top level. This isn't a throwaway race, guys. This is like their spring training. They have 2 weeks in order to build these cars, get their speed right, and create their momentum for the rest of the year. Having said that, there have been times where your eventual champion has crashed out of Daytona, finished 40th or 36th or 43rd, back when there was a 43-car field, and come back to win the championship. But they have a pedigree behind them. Some of these younger guys, like Larson, is this a bad thing for Larson that he crashed out of this race? Again, the damage wasn't that great. I think this was a calculated effort on the 42. But if this was a major crash for the 42, this kills your momentum going forward.
Without a doubt.
So where do you think, obviously we're watching Chase Elliott right now before we close out, in Gatorade Victory Lane. Fantastic. Great to see him there on the Cup level. Swig a beer to him. But is this... it's a 2-part question.
Okay.
All right. How many races do you give Chase Elliott before he comes home with an actual money checkered flag on the Cup Series? And 2, is today's effort going to be a detriment to the 42 team?
I would probably say, since Daytona's kind of, 50-50, I mean, anybody can win a Daytona. I mean, I would give Chase maybe 4, maybe 5 races this year, but the way you look at it tonight, I think he has a good shot at winning the 500. It's just, I just don't really know. I mean, anything can happen in this race, without a doubt. And then the second question, I think the second question, I mean, with Larson, last year, of course he had a good dominant run in the regular season. Then in the playoffs, could have had a shot to go to the championship and then bottled out, with the engine failure. But no, I really think, Larson is going to be up there between Elliott and then all the other young drivers, but I don't know. I think it's going to be very interesting to see a lot of these young drivers perform. And I think if you look at it, we could probably see maybe like 12, maybe 13 young drivers, make the playoffs this year.
Out of 16? That's a crazy thought, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's not out of the ordinary. I really think with the influx of young drivers that we've had in the last year, this year, I don't think 12 is a bad vote. I think 12 young drivers out of 16 with, say, and I'm just throwing names out here, Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, Denny Hamlin, and I'm going to throw Logano into the mix. Not to discount the Jimmy Johnsons of the world, not to discount the Clint Boyers of the world, but those are the guys you consistently see up top every year, with the exception of last year with Logano. Again, the encumbered win and all that BS. Thank God they've taken away the encumbered win this year too.
Yeah.
But you're gonna see, like you said, I'm not going 12. I was gonna say 7, but I don't doubt that you're gonna see 12 young guns and 4 vets in the championship run this year. We'll find out come September, but for right now, that's as good as bet as any. I'd put my money on that. Why not?
Yeah.
All right, so we will reconvene next Wednesday, and we're going to be talking about all the fantastic action. I will, unfortunately, and I'm going to say this now, I will not see the truck race tomorrow night. I will see most of the Xfinity race on Saturday. I got some things to do, but I will be sitting here for the entire Monster Energy Cup Series Daytona 500. So as we go forward, I'm looking forward to a fantastic 2018 season. If last year is any indication, this year stands to be more exciting than last year. What do you think?
I think it's going to be exciting too, and I'm looking forward to not only Daytona, but I think, I'm really looking forward to this exciting season. And not only that, I really think the playoffs are going to be it's going to be pretty competitive, now that you got the Charlotte Roval in there. And I really think the Roval is going to be that one race, who gets out of the first round and who gets eliminated. But I think the Daytona 500 on Sunday, it's going to be very exciting to watch, and I just can't wait.
All right, gun to your head. Your life depends on it. Who comes home with a victory first? Bubba Wallace, Chase Elliott, William Byron. Go.
Chase Elliott.
All right. I was gonna pick Byron.
Okay.
No offense to Bubba Wallace. His strengths are on the 1.5 miles and lower.
Yeah.
I really think that when we get to the Richmonds, the Bristols, the Dovers, you're going to see Bubba Wallace come up. But, gun to my head, William Byron comes home with a win of those 3 before anybody.
All right.
All right, so for Corey Huffnagel, the C&J Speedway Review, I'm Chris Burns, the Loki and Jabroni Show. Corey told you how to find us earlier in the episode. We will see you next Wednesday night, back again weekly. Tell your friends, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Go to www.patreon.com/Loki and Jabroni, which is the mothership. That's where you can donate to the show on a weekly, monthly, or however you want to do basis. Help us get better. And maybe improve the internet here at this crazy. It's a beautiful house, but the internet sucks.
Yeah.
We're going to work on that. All right, guys. We'll talk to you soon.
Good night.